tonight, a best-selling author. His new book is called The Moral Landscape: How Science Can Determine Human Values. Please welcome to the program Sam Harris. How are you?
Good. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm a huge fan of the show.
Oh, thank you, sir. The Moral Landscape: How Science Can Determine Human Values.
Well, first let me say, I think the biggest challenge we're facing is finding some way to create a global civilization based on shared values. I mean, we have to converge on the same kinds of economic and political and social goals at some point, and we have to begin giving similar answers to the most important questions in human life. And the only way forward I see to do that is to begin to talk about morality and human values very much in the context of our growing scientific understanding of ourselves and the world. We have a problem. We have a kind of intellectual and moral emergency where the only people on the planet at this moment who think there are truly right answers to moral questions are religious demagogues who think the universe is 6,000 years old. Everyone else seems to think that there's something suspect about the concept of moral truth, and there's no there scientifically.
Do they think it's suspect, or do they think it's always just kind of a cost-benefit analysis, or not suspect but complex?
Well, granted, it's complex. Morality and value clearly relates to human and animal well-being, and our well-being emerges out of the laws of nature. It depends on the way the universe is. So it's fantastically complex. I mean, human well-being relates to genetics and neurobiology and psychology and sociology and economics and everything that can possibly influence states of the human brain. But all of these domains fall within the purview of science. I mean, there's this idea that you have the important questions in human life over here that are based on values that come from religion, but there's this domain of facts over here that science can treat, and there's a gulf between them.
Are you saying that morality cannot come from religion?
I think in the best case, religion gives people bad reasons to be good where good reasons are actually available. And in the worst case, it separates moral thinking from the actual details of human and animal suffering. So you have an institution like the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is more concerned about preventing contraception than preventing child rape. It's more concerned about preventing gay marriage than genocide. I mean, this is not my opinion of the Catholic Church. This is just based on its doctrine and its actions in the world.
Right.
And when you see
that is a human interpretation of Scripture.
Getting our wisdom from Scripture, the God of Abraham gets slavery wrong. I mean, slavery is probably the easiest moral question we've ever had to face. And if this book was written by an omniscient deity who's the true source of moral wisdom in this universe, it should at least get the question of whether it's right to own people and treat them like farm equipment right. It doesn't get that question right. The God of Abraham clearly expects us to keep slaves. So that's a problem.
That's a non-starter for you, as it were.
Yeah, well,
so the slavery thing. So even afterwards, when he's like, Ed, we should really feed the poor, in your mind, you're like, the slavery thing negates the entire.
Anyone in this room could improve the 10 Commandments in 5 seconds. I mean,
well, you'd make them easier to carry around. But is it? So how do you mathematically quantify? All right, the Taliban.
Right.
I can objectively look at their morality in terms of what they do to women and say that is wrong. But how do I mathematically make that case? Because you are talking about quantifying something.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that most people in science seem to think there's no place to stand within science to say that's wrong. But there's this intuition that something has happened in the last 200 years of intellectual progress which has made it difficult to say that the Taliban is really wrong in their treatment of women. And what I'm saying is the moment you realize that the only way to ask whether it's good for women to be forced to wear burqas is to wonder whether it's good for human flourishing on any level. I mean, does it make more compassionate men or more confident women? Does it improve relationships between men and women? And what I'm saying is that we know at this moment in human history that the answer to that question is no. And to doubt this scientifically is to pretend that we know nothing about human well-being. When states fail, the first order of business is to get some security. But we can understand there's so many ways to do that are objectively terrible. I mean, terrible in the sense that people are suffering needlessly. And we can understand this at the level of the brain, we can understand it at the level of society. And I'm saying that this is not a no-go area for science. This is a science of the human mind will understand how human communities flourish. And it's a myth that we can't get there through science.
Right. Well, it's really interesting. I guess the real message from this book is, get off your ass, scientists.
That it is.
Would
yes.
that be a working title, perhaps?
It would have been a good subtitle, yes.
The Moral Landscape, it really is a great read, and a lot of very interesting questions that come out of it. Sam Harris, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.